Let me tell you a story that's been told for thousands of years, a story about fear, courage, and a young boy who faced a giant. But this isn't just about a boy and a big man. It's about how faith can overcome fear and how God can use the most unlikely person to win the most impossible battle. It all began during a time of war. The Israelites were at war with the Philistines. The two armies were camped on opposite hills with a valley in between them. Every morning, the Philistine army sent out their champion, a giant named Goliath. Now, Goliath wasn't just tall, he was massive. Over 9 feet tall, dressed in heavy bronze armor and armed with a huge spear, he looked unstoppable. Every day, Goliath would shout across the valley, "Why are you all lined up for battle? Choose one man to fight me. If he kills me, we'll become your slaves. But if I win, you'll serve us." And then he would mock them, daring anyone from Israel to step forward. But no one did. For 40 days, Goliath came out and challenged them morning and evening. And every time, the Israelites trembled in fear. Even their king, Saul, was too afraid to face him. Meanwhile, far away in the hills of Bethlehem, there was a teenage boy named David. He wasn't a soldier, he was a shepherd, the youngest of 8 brothers. While his older brothers were off at war, David stayed home watching the sheep. He played music, wrote songs, and spent time with God. But he wasn't weak. He had fought off lions and bears to protect his flock. One day, David's father sent him to the battlefield not to fight, but to bring food to his brothers and check on them. When David arrived, he heard Goliath shouting his usual insults, but something was different. While the others trembled, David was outraged. He asked, "Who is this man who mocks the armies of the living God?" Everyone thought David was just being bold or naive. Even his brothers told him to go home. But David wasn't afraid. He believed that God was bigger than Goliath. Word got around, and soon King Saul sent for him. When David said he wanted to fight the giant, Saul laughed. "You're just a boy," he said, "and he's been a warrior his whole life." But David replied, "I fought lions and bears to protect my sheep, and this giant will be no different. The Lord who rescued me before will rescue me again." Saul hesitated, but he had no better option. So he gave David his own armor and sword. David tried it on, but it was too heavy, too big, he couldn't move, so he took it off. Instead, David walked to a nearby stream. He picked up 5 smooth stones and placed them in his pouch. In his hand, he carried only a sling. No armor, no sword, just faith. Then, David walked down into the valley. When Goliath saw him, he laughed. "Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?" he mocked. But David stood firm. "You come at me with sword and spear, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty. Today, he will give you into my hands, and everyone will know that the battle is the Lord's." The giant moved forward. David ran toward him, reached into his pouch, and pulled out a stone. He placed it in his sling, swung it around, and let it fly. The stone struck Goliath right in the forehead, and just like that, the giant fell. Silence swept over the battlefield. The Philistines couldn't believe it. Their champion was dead. The Israelites shouted in victory and chased the enemy army away. And David? He became a hero overnight, not because of strength or size, but because of faith. The story of David and Goliath is more than just a story for children. It's a message for all of us. We all face giants. Maybe your Goliath is fear, or failure, or insecurity. Maybe it's grief, or addiction, or anxiety. Maybe it's the voice that says you're not good enough, not strong enough, not ready. But here's what David shows us. You don't need to be the biggest, the fastest, or the strongest. You just need to believe that God is bigger than your giant. David wasn't a warrior, he was a shepherd. But he had courage, not because he believed in himself, but because he believed in God's power through him. So the next time you face something that feels impossible, when the odds are against you, when people doubt you, when fear tries to paralyze you, remember this: giants fall, not because of who we are, but because of who God is. Like David, you don't need to wear someone else's armor. You don't need to be anyone but who God made you to be. All he asks is your trust. All he needs is your faith. Because in the end, the battle belongs to the Lord.